Coronation Street actor James Cartwright has told Inside Soap that his on-screen alter ego Theo Silverton is heading into fiery confrontations with rival troublemaker Carl Webster. Viewers recently learned that both Theo and Carl could end up as victims in the ITV drama's forthcoming murder mystery storyline, which kicks off on the wedding day of Lisa and Carla. Although Carl has built up plenty of adversaries over time, even within his own relatives, it may be Theo's disturbing mistreatment of Todd Grimshaw that ultimately places him in mortal danger. If Theo's dark behavior were ever exposed to the public, many locals would likely celebrate his downfall. The pressing question, however, is who might actually be capable of ending his life. Reflecting on his character's chaos, James remarks that Theo has barreled through the street recklessly, leaving destruction in his wake since arriving on the cobbles in March last year. He points out that Carl already has reason to resent him, hinting at unresolved tension between them. Other possible suspects include James, who has the physical strength and emotive, as well as Summer, who may be unhappy with recent events, and George. He adds that Sarah, being Todd's closest confidant, could be driven by loyalty. Danielle, Theo's former wife, might resurface, or perhaps even an ex-boyfriend, could return seeking revenge. In a darkly humorous twist, James even jokes that Todd himself could strike back with a deadly mushroom risotto. The rivalry between Theo and Carl intensified in January, when Carl overheard Theo confessing his guilt beside Billy's lifeless body. Soon after, Theo secured photographic proof that Carl had masterminded a robbery at the Chariot Square Hotel. From that point on, the pair have traded increasingly vicious threats, and according to James, their clash is about to escalate dramatically. He describes it as a brutal face-off between two antagonists battling for dominance, comparable to rival silverback gorillas fighting for supremacy in the wild. In such contests, the victor claims everything belonging to the defeated rival. James believes Theo and Carl's hostility mirrors that ruthless struggle. What began as mutual dislike is rapidly intensifying into genuine hatred, setting the stage for an all-or-nothing showdown. Coronation Street actress hints at fiery fallout as Jod's lies unravel. Shaw Platt opened her door to her long, lost half-sister, Jodie Ramsey, on the street, unaware that the newcomer has designs on taking over her life. Now, the truth is edging closer, and Shona is about to catch Jod out in a deception. Actress Julia Goulding shares insight into what happens next. Since making a dramatic entrance during the Corrie crash, the enigmatic Jodie has been surrounded by suspicion. She fled from the van of her Dale villain Graham Foster, spun a tale about escaping a violent father, and carefully ensured their troubled dad remains confined to a psychiatric unit where Shona can't reach him. Though she gives off serious obsessive vibes, Jod hasn't completely unleashed her darker side in the way Becky Swain once did. Instead, she's playing the devoted relative, doing on baby Harper and offering unwavering support to Shona's husband, David Platt. Naturally, that kindness is anything but genuine. Jodie harbors resentment toward Shona for leaving home as a teenage mom and abandoning her to deal with her abusive father. Her apparent goal is to edge Shona out of the Platt family, drawing closer to David while subtly undermining her sister in the eyes of her niece, Lily Platt. According to Julia, the strain between Shona and David has been building since Jod's arrival. She describes it as tiny cracks forming beneath the surface, exhaustion and irritation creeping in, though their relationship remains fundamentally strong. Still, those small fissures may soon widen dramatically under Jod's influence. As if the emotional tension weren't enough, the couple are also dealing with a terrifying ordeal involving their premature daughter, Harper. Born with a cancerous growth on her neck, the baby required intensive care and is scheduled for surgery on March 4th to remove the tumor. Living in constant anxiety, Shona and David face another scare when Harper experiences a minor bleed. Julia explains that Shona is utterly drained, stuck in survival mode, overwhelmed, and physically exhausted. At the moment, it appears that only David and Jod's support are keeping her afloat. However, that illusion begins to crumble when Jod encounters another new mother who mistakenly assumes she is Harper's mom and that David is her partner. Shona later overhears Jod discussing her daughter's operation with the stranger, and she is far from pleased. Julia reveals that this moment immediately sets alarm bells ringing for Shona. Yet, Jod is an expert at twisting situations to her advantage. And with Shona already stretched to breaking point, she lacks the energy to confront further chaos. Initially furious and demanding answers, Shah soon finds herself persuaded by her sister's slick excuses, choosing trust over suspicion despite her doubts. But deception can only last so long. Eventually, Jod's carefully constructed facade will crack, and Shona will uncover the truth behind the manipulation. With the soap's upcoming murder mystery looming, and Jod among the 5 characters potentially facing a fatal end, events could spiral quickly. Could Shona take extreme action to safeguard her family from her scheming sibling? Julia admits she would relish seeing a tougher side of Shona resurface. After being softened in recent years, she hopes the fierce, formidable version of Shona, the one people genuinely feared, will make a powerful comeback. Coronation Street confirms another 2026 death in early ITVX release. The ITV soap has revealed that George Shuttleworth's deepest worry has come true. His gentle client, Mrs. Ripley, has died inside his funeral home. The shocking development raises serious questions about whether George's business can withstand yet another blow to its name. The Weatherfield parlor was already facing backlash after spiteful newcomer Annie accused George of conning her late mother out of £10,000, a claim that was entirely fabricated. Now, with Mrs. Ripley's passing added to the controversy, the pressure on George is intensifying rapidly. Friday's installment confirms the elderly woman's fate following her sudden collapse at Shuttleworth's. Viewers previously saw George urgently calling for medical help, clinging to hope that paramedics could save her. Tragically, she did not survive. As George comes to terms with the loss, he's comforted by Christina, Glenda, and Todd Grimshaw. Despite their reassurance, he confesses he feels overwhelming guilt about the situation. Todd insists that Mrs. Rip's death was simply her time, but George can't help questioning whether the stress surrounding recent events may have contributed to her final days. Christina cautiously suggests that some might see the timing as suspicious rather than coincidental. Their discussion soon spirals into a heated exchange about whether anyone could genuinely suspect George of deliberately targeting widows for financial gain. Horrified that such rumors could even circulate, the Undertaker is left feeling utterly defeated. The drama escalates further when a man arrives at the parlor identifying himself as Damien, Mrs. Ripley's son. Initially appreciative that George will handle his mother's funeral arrangements, Damien's confidence wavers after Annie corners him and casts doubt on Shuttleworth's integrity. Could Annie's grudge push matters to an even darker place? Mrs. Ripley becomes the second character written out of Corrie in 2026, though her appearances were brief. The first major loss of the year was long-standing resident Billy Mayhew, who died during the explosive Corrie crossover event earlier this year. Coronation Street airs weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and is available to stream via ITVX.